I am Richard Reich, and I was an assistant professor. Now I'm an associate professor of psychology in the College of Arts and Sciences. What led me here was luck. I was finishing my postdoc at USF Tampa in the summer of 2005, and I really didn't know what I was going to do next, and an opportunity opened up for a visiting instructor position here, and 3 weeks later I was teaching in the fall of 2005, and even as a visiting instructor, I tried to treat the position as a tenure-seeking position. So I continued to do research, to be active in research. I did as much service as I possibly could, and I taught as well as I could during that time. Well, I've worked on many projects. They fall into two different domains. One domain is in studying alcohol and alcohol-related cognitions, and these are the thoughts that people have about drinking that are related to how much they drink. So for example, people that tend to think alcohol does good things for them, like that make them more happy or more sociable or dance or have sex or things like that, they tend to drink more than people who their cognitions about alcohol are more like, I'm going to be sick the next day, or it's going to impair my thinking or impair my driving. Most people have both types of cognitions, most types of these types of thoughts, but it's what thoughts come first, what thoughts are most prominent in people's minds about alcohol that are most related to their drinking. So I've done a lot of research on that. Another area of research that I've pursued is in studying psychology, I've become somewhat of a statistical expert. And so I also do statistical consulting at Moffitt Cancer Center, which is in Tampa. And so I've worked on many different projects as a statistician, including projects that are studying different ways to alleviate the influences of chemotherapy on people, studies related to the loss of fertility after people go through chemotherapy. I've done studies related to very basic things like the effects of the different toxicity, the side effects of chemotherapy, and studies on what are the best ways to inflate people's lungs during thoracotomies and things like that. Now, I'm not a medical expert, but having a background in statistics has given me the ability to work on many of these projects, to apply statistical and data analytic techniques to many different types of studies. So alcohol is just an avenue for studying how the mind works, how human being, the thinking that goes along with being human works. It's interesting, and it's a very quantifiable problem, so it's an easy outcome variable to study. But what interests me most about alcohol is really the general thinking processes that go along with it. What I've learned in studying psychology is that people learn through associations. So when I'm teaching in class, I try to give as many examples as possible. I draw those examples from my own life experiences, but I encourage the students to draw from examples from their experiences, because that's the best way to remember information. I'm not afraid of going off on tangents in class, because what it's showing, what it's demonstrating is that these are associations I have about whatever concept or whatever topic that we're going through. And I tell my students that I used to try and stop myself from tangential thinking. But that's the way we learn. That's the way human beings learn, is by associating information with other information. And so I always encourage my students not to be afraid of thinking metaphorically or through analogy of how anything that we're experiencing is related to something that we've already experienced. There's an expectation that your teaching be excellent here, and that your research also be excellent. In some other universities, it's more of a focus on research, and teaching is sort of pushed to the side a little bit. I like the balance that there is here.